Bicameral, consisting of two houses, which will be the House of Representatives and the Senate. Well, guys, I hope you're writing pretty fast. If not, please write a little faster. I hope you're done because I'm about to end it.
The Articles of Confederation. 1. It was a weak form of government. 2. They couldn't enforce any laws. 3. They were the first form of government. And 4. They were replaced by the Constitution. 5. They had no power to raise an army.
My name's Erica, and I got unicameral. In government, unicameral is the practice of having one legislative or parliamentary chamber.
Boycott is to withdraw from commercial or social relations with a country, organization, or person as a punishment or protest. When you and many more people agree on something that needs to get done by the government, y'all can protest peaceful around your town about it. Boycott is to withdraw from commercial or social relations with a country, organization, or person as a punishment or protest. When you and many more people agree on something that needs to get done by the government, y'all can protest peaceful around your town about it.
Compromise that solved Southern Command's for county population was the Three-Fifths Compromise. The Three-Fifths Compromise was proposed by James Wilson that every 5 slaves will count as 3 people for taxation. States in the North and South could not agree on how slaves would be counted in the population, so they decided on the Three-Fifths Compromise.
The biggest export was tobacco. Tobacco is a product that was loved by all because no one knew the negative effects it had on the human body.
Ratification. Definition: the action of signing or giving formal consent to a treaty, contract, or agreement, making it officially valid. Example: a treaty is not enforceable or valid until the ratification process is complete.
Framers, the delegates of the Constitutional Convention, who developed the framework for the government and wrote the Constitution.
By Adriana Bryn Rostro. The Albany Plan of Union was a plan to create a unified government for the 13 colonies suggested by Benjamin Franklin, then a senior leader and a delegate from Pennsylvania at the Albany Congress on July 10, 1754 in Albany, New York.
Each of the 13 colonies had its own government, but the British king controlled these governments. By the 1770s, many colonists were mad because they wanted self-rule. The reason they wanted self-rule was because the king was way too far, and the colonies didn't want someone to rule them that wasn't there, and they wanted to be ruled by themselves, not by a king. That's why they moved to the colonies.
Who was the King of England during the Revolution? The king was King George III. King George was the second longest reigning monarch before Queen Victoria. He was in power from 1760 through 1820. He died while he was reigning. He is best known for his tyranny over the American Revolution. He is also known for being the king during the British 7 Years' War and the Napoleonic War. His last decade as king, he suffered from possible arsenic poisoning, which caused porphyria, insanity, and being deaf.
Boston Massacre is the event in which 5 people were killed by British soldiers firing into a berserk crowd of colonists. It was named the Boston Massacre by the press to strengthen the colonists' will to rebel from the British and start a revolution.
all the bad acts together were called the intolerable acts.
Number of colonies. The 13 colonies were a group of British colonies located on the east coast of North America, founded in the 17th and 18th century, declared independence in 1776, formed in the United States. Okay. So,
About 4.5 minutes to finish up and get it turned in.
okay, so when you're finished, what do you do? How do you what do you do when you're finished? How?
Trim it.
How do you do this?
If you were paying attention, you would know.
Okay, where's my video? Where's my video?
Huh?
Where's my video?
What about it?
Where did it go?
Look for it.
Did you see your name
Where?
in the video?
No. I'm not gonna say my name. People don't need to know who I am.
You have to do it with the face? You can't do it just the screen?
I know, with just the screen.
Oh, okay, good.
You should have told me what was going to say.
No.
So how do you trim it or whatever?
It has little scissors at the bottom.
I don't know where my video went. So
Did you record?
yeah,
Are you sure?
I'm positive. I didn't put it on there.
You still haven't stopped.
Revolt against tea tax. The tea tax, the catalyst of the Boston Tea Party. The British East India Tea Company made a monopoly on tea sales in American colonies. Sons of Liberty members, on the night of December 16th, 1773, decided to disguise themselves as Mohawk Indians. They boarded 3 ships in the Boston harbor. They destroyed over 92,000 pounds of tea. Parliament responded with a series of harsh measures intended to stifle colonial resistance to British rule. 2 years later, war began. By Crispin Rodriguez.
Who led Shays Rebellion? Shays Rebellion in September 1786. A small group of Massachusetts farmers rebelled because they were going to lose the land. Who led Shays Rebellion? Who was Shays Rebellion led by? Shays Rebellion was led by former Revolutionary War captain named Daniel Shay. Farmers set courthouses to prevent judges from foreclosing on farmers. In 1787, there was about 2,500 people in Shays Rebellion.
What was Shays Rebellion? Shays Rebellion is the name given to a series of protests in 1786 and 1787 by American farmers against state and local enforcement of tax collections and judgment for debt. The rebellion took its name from the symbolic leader Daniel Shay from Massachusetts, a former captain in the Continental Army. Dun, dun, dun.
Number 19. President of Convention that wrote the Declaration of Independence, John Hancock, was the one that wrote the Declaration of Independence.
The question I had was the first to sign the Declaration of Independence by Sam Vargas. It was John Hancock, the most famous signature on the engrossed copy of John Hancock, who presumed signed first as President of Congress. And there's a picture of John Hancock.
Mount Vernon. Located in Philadelphia, Mount Vernon was the home of George Washington. This is where delegates from 12 states met up, also known as framers, to build the Constitution. They met up May 25th, 1787. George was the president of the convention, while the biggest contributor was James Madison, also known as the father of the Constitution, meeting held in secret.
Is it on? I got the Virginia plan. Is it? I got the Virginia plan. It has the 3 branches in addition to dealing with the legislative presentation. The Virginia plan addresses other issues as well, with many provisions do not make it in the Constitution that emerged. It called for a national government of 3 branches: legislative, executive, and judicial. And I got a picture of motherfucker George Washington, I think, and some other niggas over here at the Virginia. And right click, bro. The question. Not the question mark. The fucking. Correct.
All right, guys. I got the New Jersey plan. As unicameral was as desired by the Virginia plan, and the Senate granted equal votes per state as desired by the New Jersey plan, multiple executive and equal representation.
Parts of the New Jersey Plan. The New Jersey Plan was an option of how the United States would be governed, and it gave Congress the power to tax and have each state be equal, regardless of the size of its population.
Number 25, Connecticut Compromise. What is the Connecticut Compromise? This compromise is fair in many ways and is considered to this day as a great compromise. Number 1 is a bicameral was established. One branch plays a ruling where every state get equal representative and another by population. Number 2 reason has to be both involved the New Jersey Plan created by William Patterson and Virginia Plan created by James Madison. Where and when introduced in 1787 and reached during the Constitutional Convention. And in my opinion, this is a photo that best represents this whole Connecticut Compromise.
Great Compromise was an agreement that the large and small states reached during the Constitutional Convention of 1787. That was a part defined as the legislative structure and representatives that each state would have under the United States.
My name is Manny Galindo, and I am going to tell you about the 20-year compromise with a small summary and definition or whatever, blah, blah, blah. So the 20-year compromise was made by the Northerners because they tried to keep the Southerners happy because the Southerners had suspected that the Congress's power to regulate commerce would be used to abolish slavery, and it just prevented the Southerners from doing anything crazy and not wanting to vote for anything since their slavery would be abolished. So they just made this, which protected it for 20 years until 1808.
September 17th, 17...
Okay. Who were for the ratification of the Constitution by Taylor Brodell? The ratification of the Constitution was represented and pushed by the Federalists. These people included John Jay, Alexander Hamilton, and James Madison.
Anti-Federalists. The definition is a person who opposed the ratification of the Constitution. Basically, they thought it would give the national government too much power and they would take away their rights, and they didn't want that. So they decided against ratifying the Constitution.
Pen name of author by me, Callie. The pen name was Publius. Alexander Hamilton, John Jay, and James Madison used the pen name Publius because they didn't want to use their own names to avoid seeming biased and to seem anonymous and not a part of one side.
I got question 43, and my question was, year Bill of Rights was added, and the Bill of Rights was added on December 15, 1791. And yeah, that's it.
Are you sure about that?
Yes.
Resolution to declare independence. On this day in 1776, the Second Continental Congress, assembled in Philadelphia, formally adopts Richard Henry Lee's resolution for independence from Great Britain.
First to sign Declaration of Independence, John Hancock.
I'm still not working. Yeah, buddy, you gotta get me. Come on, try tomorrow.
Hey, Duncan, I ain't gonna lie to you, I did try, so it just ain't working today. Might be because too many people on it or something. Might be because too many people on it. I mean, too many people on it. Mr. Duncan.
It's like always super dry.
Sounds like you did all the work, it's just a little technical stuff.
Yes, sir. So, did you record it? Sir, it's just keep freezing. Just recording.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. It is just straight up frozen. Oh, there we go. We got something.
Who is the father of the Constitution? The father of the Constitution is James Madison. The reason for is because of his pivotal role in the document's drafting as well as its ratification.
How was the Three-Fifths Compromise worded? By Dylan Martinez. How is it worded? The populations of slaves would be counted as three-fifths in total when apportioning representatives as well as presidential electors and taxes. The Three-Fifths Compromise was proposed by James Wilson and Roger Sherman, who were both delegates for the Constitution Convention of 1787. Southerners demanded that blacks would be counted with whites. The compromise clearly reflected the strength of the pro-slavery forces at the convention. The Three-Fifths Compromise allowed a state to count the three-fifths of each black person, determining political representation in the House.
Okay, the number of letters written was the question, and the answer was there were 85 essays that made the Federalist paper. They were wrote by Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, John Jay, and all those essays combined after a while they were called the New Constitution. And yes.
Question I got was technically an answer question. It's how did they solve this? Here's the explanation. They used a great compromise, equal representation, and proportional representation to solve their problems. And there's a picture of them at the Constitutional Convention and explaining and agreeing. Question I got was technically an answer question. It's how did they solve this? Here's the explanation. They used a great compromise, equal representation, and proportional representation to solve their problems. And there's a picture of them at the Constitutional Convention and explaining and agreeing.
compromise that solved Southern commands for county population was the Three-Fifths Compromise. The Three-Fifths Compromise was proposed by James Wilson that every 5 slaves will count as 3 people for taxation. States in the North and South could not agree on how slaves would be counted in the population, so they decided on the Three-Fifths Compromise.
Reason for no direct control by me. The reason was because they were so far away. There was 3,000 miles from England and America. They couldn't be controlled.
Oh God.
Was it recording? Oh.
So, the main author of the Declaration of Independence by Haley Autry. Thomas Jefferson. As we know, Thomas Jefferson is the main author of the Declaration of Independence. Five others which worked with him is Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, Roger Sherman, and Robert Livingston. Thomas Jefferson was given the task to write a draft for the Declaration of Independence, which from June 11 to June 28 he worked on. Jefferson then showed the draft to others, which they ended up making many revisions to the draft until the 4th of July when they finally finalized it, signed it, and sent it off to be printed.
The Constitution. The Constitution was signed in the Philadelphia Convention, which is now known as the Constitutional Convention. It was signed at the Pennsylvania State House in Pennsylvania State.